Here, this one is the game that I was talking about previously. Arcade Spirits, the new challengers. In my previous video, that could be used as an entry point. This is the userland exploit for that game it also supports. Another game a year of Spring's PS4. So it needs to be the European version of the game, it seems. In order for this to work, not the US NTSC version. So it needs to be the PAL version rather than the NTSC version. So you can kind of tell, obviously, the title ID tells you because 32097 is the European title ID, whereas the US one is KUSA 32096, so that's the one you don't want. The one you want is the one that ends in 7. However, if you're just looking at the box of the game on some kind of store where you're buying it won't necessarily give you the title ID. Instead, you just look for the PEGI rating in the bottom left-hand corner of the box art. And that is what you're looking for. That PEGI 12, if you see that there, then that is the European version of the game that you're getting, whereas the US version will have a different ASRB rating in the bottom left-hand corner instead. So you want the one that has the PEGI rating, not the ASRB one. So in the traditional way, the same as the Louis exploits. So for the PS4, all you gotta do is get a physical copy of the game, then simply start up the game, get into the game a little bit, and then create a save file by pressing, and then going to save, and create a new save slot, and create that save file. Once the save is created, you can close out of the game and run the Apollo save tool. So you'll need, obviously, a console that already has an existing jailbreak. And to set this up initially, obviously, backup and restore methods will be available in the future for using this, but for now, you need a jailbroken PS4 or a Discord save bot or something you can use for resigning the save files. But generally, to get it set up with the Apollo save tool, you run that. You then head over to the HDD saves section, and then you locate the save file for the game Arcade Spirits. Select it. Select that save file and use the option to copy it, which will decrypt the save and copy the decrypted save data to the USB. You can then plug that USB drive back into the computer. Open up the save file in the PS4 Apollo folder. In there, you will find the decrypted data, and you just want to swap it out with the one from the release. In this project. So right here, you've got the latest release at 1.save. You basically download that save file, and then swap out the one on the USB drive with the one from the GitHub repo. And then once that's done, you can then plug the USB back into the PS4. Go to USB saves in the Apollo save tool. Find the save file for the game and then copy it back to the HDD, which will then re-encrypt it back into a resigned save file on the HDD for the game, and then you should be good to go at that point. You can close out of the Apollo save tool, so that you're no longer running the jailbreak and then anymore. You can test it by simply running the game again on the console and then going to load the save file. So you can see that the save file image has changed. That's how you know that this has been successful. And then you can select that save file and it will run. And as you can see here, it runs to completion. And we get a notification saying it's listening on the IP address of the PS for on port 90 to 5. So you can then send follow-up payloads. The payloads are Python files rather than Lua script or JavaScript files like we've seen in the other userland. There is also a labs Python file for actually executing the full kernel exploit to fully jailbreak the console using this, although it doesn't appear to be complete because it's not in the release section yet. And when I send this, it does fail with a bunch of error messages. There is a possibility I'm not sending it correctly, but it could just be that it's not quite ready yet because it's not in the full releases and it's still being worked on. That's what we've got going on there with this particular and then, of course, once you've created the modified save file, you can then go to the application save data management section on the PS4 and export that save file to the USB, the encrypted version. And as long as you have another console that is activated with the same account ID as the account on the PS4 that you were using to create that modified save file with, you can basically transfer that save file to your jailbroken PS5 or to another PS4. So you've got that option there as well. So yeah, anyway, that's basically the quick TLD are, of course, their wizard for resigning the save files, and also you've got the Discord save bots that you can use as well. So anyway, that's basically what we've got going on there. Another userland exploit, but believe it or not, we're still not done. With the userland related stuff here, it seems so. We actually got this $10,000 bounty that appeared from A familiar face, actually, so more one. This one was a $10,000 bounty. Interesting because this is a known developer in the scene who has been doing a lot of stuff with them custom themes. So he's actually been around in the scene for quite a long time. But this seems to be a big step forward for this developer, because they've managed to successfully report a bug to Sony and they have deemed it severe, enough to award him with a $10,000 bounty, which is fantastic. Yeah, honestly, incredible. Congratulations. 2more here for managing to achieve that. So we did get a bit more information about what this might be, and it might be some kind of WebKit-based exploit here, or vulnerability at least, because Gadgetness saying here congrats on getting the 1 OK bounty. So Sony actually cares about WebKit, or is this not a WebKit report? And of course, more here replies saying yes, it's memory corruption crash bug in the PS4 WebKit, so that kind of narrows things down. It looks like some kind of WebKit vulnerability in the PS. Specifically at the moment here. It's interesting though, because normally you wouldn't think that PlayStation would actually take WebKit reports on HackerOne, because the WebKit itself is actually Apple's WebKit. So a vulnerability in Apple's WebKit should be reported to via Apple, their bug bounty program, rather than PlayStation. You would think, and it seems that they have ignored other WebKit vulnerabilities that were posted on HackerOne via PlayStation's program in the past. So it's a little strange that they seem to have turned and are now accepting a WebKit vulnerability. And it also does seem to be a very high bounty for just what would appear to be some kind of WebKit vulnerability. Anyway, that appears to be the situation so far from what we know. How do all of these new userland fit into the bigger picture? With the kernel exploit, the new one that the Flow has released, well, nothing immediately changes, as we have the issue of most userland being unable to load the new kernel exploit, leaving WebKit, Jailbreak, and Mastercore as the only options. If this new WebKit vulnerability could be turned into a usable exploit, then perhaps we could use it to jailbreak for up to firmware 13.0. If not, then we're likely looking at 12.50 via the Blu-ray exploit in the short term. And for the PS5, the only usable one is Mastercore, unless solution is discovered to allow the rest of the userland exploits to be used to load the new kernel exploit by incrementing fcount, as the Flow stated. It is not impossible to get them working. So if that does happen, then the sky is the limit, as we would be able to use the WebKit or YARP on PS4 to jailbreak up to 13.0, and YouTube jailbreak Netflix or YARP to jailbreak up to 12.0 on the PS5. So beyond that, a few other developments happening, and Lightning Mods of course has posted that he has a better game description for firmware 3.0, using the dumper utility and a new custom background package installer, which is now available for testing in the Package Zone Discord server. So again, you just go into the Package Zone Discord, into the ETA Hen public test channel, and go to the get the latest ETA Hen and items flow builds, test builds from there. We can also see that the port number for FTP and clog has been switched to the same port numbers as FTP and the clog payloads, so 2121 for FTP and 30-32 for the clog server. He also states that the background installer is just for firmwares 5.00 and below for now, so the custom background package installer lets you choose the location of where the package files are stored, so that you can then install them with the package installer. Normally, it would only look in the USB drive, root of the USB drive, although maybe it was also looking in the data folder on the hard drive, which is another common location. However, you can now specify a specific folder. So if you don't have your package in the root of the USB, or you have them buried in somewhere some subfolder or somewhere else on the hard drive or on the M.2 drive, you can now specify that location in ETA Hen, so that when you go back to the package installer, all of the package files in that custom location will then show up and be available for install. So that's what's been added in this particular version. The 3.00 for the dumper utility likely has everything to do with the self-decryptor, which has also been updated to now support 3.00 to 10.01. It's also fixed an issue which caused the end of the file to be cut off on certain rare scenarios, so that issue has now been resolved. So hopefully more games will be able to be properly decrypted compared to previously. And Echo Stretch has also updated the PS5 app dumper version, the payload that can dump and decrypt your games, to version 1.03 beta, which includes this update from Idle, as well as a bunch of other improvements. including a new config file, which has the option to disable the decryptor or the logging. You just put the config file in mntusb homebrew folder, and then you can tell it to disable logging if you want, or disable the decryptor you just want to dump the raw game files. But normally, you would just leave it as is, output a log, and also decrypt the executable. So you have the option to kind of customize how the dumper works with the new config file. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, so hope you guys enjoyed this.